Hello, Internet. So this week, cracking open a booster box of Yu-Gi-Oh's Eternity Code. I mean, you can sort of tell this was the last one that they had in stock at the time, but anyways, so I'll get this cracked open, and we'll get right into it. I'll see you all in a moment. And we're back, so we'll get right into it. Ignore any banging you might hear. The people next door to us are having their roof reshingled, and I'm not sure how noisy it'll be on the camera, but I only found that out yesterday. So, yeah, fun times. So let's just get right into it here. So we have the Super Heavy Samurai Wagon. When it's normal or special summoned, you can change its battle position. This card can attack while in face-up defense position. If it does, apply its defense for damage calculation. If you have no spell or traps in your graveyard, you can change this face-up defense position card you control to attack position. And if you do, add one Super Heavy Samurai Soul monster from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. I mean, it's not a bad one. Goes nicely inside the Super Heavy decks. We have Unchained Twins Sarama. You can target one Unchained monster in your graveyard except Sarama, set it to your field, then destroy one card you control. If this card on the field is destroyed by card effect, except Unchained Twin Sarama, or by battle, you can special summon one Unchained monster from your deck, hand or deck, except Sarama. You can only use each effect once per turn. So, I mean, it's not a bad one. We have Megalith Unformed. Activate one of the effects. All monsters your opponent controls lose 500 attack for each ritual monster on the field. Or ritual summon one Megalith ritual monster from your deck in defense position by tributing monsters from your hand or field whose total levels equal exactly twice its level. So, I mean, you've got the ritual in there along with nice debuff, so it's not bad. Marincess Basil Alama? Basil Alama? If a monster you control would be destroyed by card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. You can only use each of the effects once per turn. You can banish one Marincess trap from your graveyard, add one Marincess trap with a different name from your deck to your hand. And if this card is banished, you can target one face-up monster you control, it gains 600 attack. So it gives you some protection for your monsters on the field and buffs them slightly as well. That's quite nice, actually. We have Plunder Patrol Ships Shipping. Summon one Fiend Fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material. You can banish this card from your graveyard, target one Plunder Patrol monster you control, equip one emblem of the Plunder Patrol or one Plunder Patrol monster from your deck to that target. You can only use this effect once per turn. I've never even heard of the Plunder Patrol monsters before this. I have Ancient Warrior Saga, Borrowing of Arrows. You can target one face-up monster your opponent controls and one Ancient Warriors monster you control. Until the end of this turn, have the opponent's monsters attack, and if you do, add its lost attack to your monster, even if this card leaves the field. If this card is sent to the graveyard where you control Ancient Warrior monsters with 2 or more different attributes, you can place one Ancient Warrior's continuous spell or trap from your hand or deck face up on your field, except Ancient Warrior Saga, Borrowing of Arrows. You can only use each effect once per turn. I was just looking at the artwork. I think this is actually based off of a real life myth where I want to say it was from feudal Japan, where during a war, one army had run out of arrows, so they literally just took one of their ships, sailed it by the enemy, let them shoot at the ship, and then took the arrows off the ship after. I have Codebreaker Virus Swordsman. While this card is special summoned, If it is co-linked, you can special summon one Codebreaker 0 Day from your hand, deck, or graveyard to any zone a link monster points to. During the end phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it was destroyed while in your possession by an opponent's card and sent there this turn, you can special summon this. You can special summon this card but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use each effect once per turn. Huh, that's not bad at all. We have Nemesis Adrastea. Adrasti. Target one of your Nemesis monsters that is banished or in your graveyard, special summon it, but if its original level is 11 or higher, it cannot activate its effects this turn. You can only activate one Nemesis Adrasta per turn. And Red Familiar. You contribute one Fiend monster, then target one Dark Dragon Synchro monster in your graveyard, special summon it in defense position, but negate its effects. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one Dark Dragon Synchro monster you control and declare a level from 1 to 8. That monster becomes that level until the end of this turn. You can only use each effect once per turn. Once again, not bad for setting up combos and the like, so. We have Resonator Command. Discard one Resonator monster, add one level 4 or lower Fiend monster from your deck to your hand. You can only activate one Resonator Command per turn. We have Codebreaker Virus Berserker. When it's special summoned, if it's co-linked, you can special summon up to 2 Codebreaker monsters from your hand and or graveyard to any zones a link monster points to. During your main phase, you can destroy spells or traps your opponent controls up to the number of linked Codebreaker monsters on the field. You can only use each effect once per turn. I mean, it's not bad, in fact. We have Proxy F Magician. During your main phase, you can fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your field as fusion material. If a fusion monster is fusion summoned to a zone this card points to, you can special summon one monster with 1000 or less attack from your hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. So he basically gives you a free fusion spell each turn. It's not bad. We have Deep Sea Minstrel. You can discard this card and one water monster, look at your opponent's hand and banish one card from their hand face up until the end phase. If this card is special summoned, you can send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard, then target one level 4 or lower water monster in your graveyard except Deep Sea Minstrel, place it on top or the bottom of the deck. You can only use each effect once per turn. I mean, it lets you mess with your opponent's hand for a turn. Lets you get monsters into the graveyard, so it's okay. We have Valiant Shark Lancer. You can target one monster your opponent controls, detach one material from an Xyz monster you control, and if you do, destroy that monster. This is a quick effect if you control another water Xyz monster. If another water Xyz monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect while you control this monster, you can take one spell from your deck and place it on top of your deck. You can only use each effect once per turn. I mean, it's got not bad effects. The only problem is that you need 2 level 5 monsters to bring them out, which is a little annoying. We have Tau T Dragon. Acquires 2 monsters special summoned from the extra deck. Oof. This card gains effects based on the card types, Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, of materials used for its link summon. Fusion, your opponent cannot activate monster effects during the battle phase. Synchro, your opponent cannot activate spell or traps and effects during your main phase. And Xyz, your opponent cannot activate the effects of cards in the graveyard during your main phase or battle phase. So, I mean, it's got nice effects, just, getting the monsters out for him is a little annoying. We have Parallel Exceed. If this card is special summoned by the effect of Parallel Exceed, its level becomes 4 and its original attack and defense become halved. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If you link summon, you can special summon this card from your hand to your zone that link monster points to. And if this card is normal or special summoned, you can special summon one Parallel Exceed from your deck. So very good for swarming the deck with these guys, but I have a feeling that you wouldn't normally be getting the 2000 stats with him. I mean, 2000 attack and defense for 8 stars is kind of bad. Good for link summoning, though. another red familiar, and another nemesis that I'm not going to try to pronounce the last word. We have Stairs of Mail. During your main phase, you can activate this effect, discard one Tindangle card, and if you do, apply one of these effects. Change one face-down defense position monster you control to face-up attack position, or change one face-up attack position monster you control to face-down defense position. This turn, you cannot discard another card with the same name for the effects of Stairs of Mail, even if that card leaves the field. Fair enough. We have Buzzsaw Shark. Target one water monster you control, special summon from your deck in defense position one fish monster with the same level as that monster but with a different name. And if you do, it cannot activate its effects this turn. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except Xyz monsters. You can only use this effect once per turn. If it's used for an Xyz summon of a water monster, it can be treated as a level 3 or 5 monster. So, you're allowed to use it for 3 different levels. It lets you easily set up for Xyz summons. Yeah, it's quite nice. Necroquip Prism. Necroquip Prism. Target one level 4 or lower monster in your graveyard. Special summon one monster from your hand with an equal or lower level than that target. Then equip that target to it. But for the rest of this turn, you cannot activate cards or the effects of cards with the same name as the equip card. While a monster is equipped to the summon monster by this effect, it gains attack equal to half the attack of the equipped monster. Quite nice. You have Codebreaker 0 Day. All link monsters pointing to this card lose 1000 attack, except Codebreaker link monsters. If a Codebreaker link monster on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect, while this card is on the field, destroy this card. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can add one Codebreaker 0 Day from your deck to your hand. We have Madolche Promenade. Target one face-up card your opponent controls and one Madolche monster you control or in your graveyard. Negate the effects of that opponent's card until the end of this turn, and if you do, return your monster to the hand. You can banish this card from your graveyard. Target one Madolche Xyz monster you control. Attach one Madolche monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard to it as material. You can only use one Madolche Promenade effect per turn and only once per turn. Well, quite nice for the Madolche decks. Another Parallel Exceed. Another Codebreaker Virus Swordsman. Rainbozu. Once per turn, you can target one face-up monster you control. It gains attack equal to the difference between the number of cards in the extra deck times 100 until the end of this turn. Even if this card leaves the field. I mean, that's not a bad pendulum effect. And gains attack during your turn only, and gains defense during your opponent's turn only, each equal to the difference between the number of cards in the extra decks times 200. If this card attacks, it is changed to defense position at the end of the battle phase. If this card the monster zone is destroyed, you can place this card in your pendulum zone. Not quite sure how I feel about that, because you either want to run him with no monsters in your extra deck, because I think people normally do run monsters in the extra deck, even if they have... but at the same time, if your opponent starts chaining them together, the bonus he gets is lower. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that one. And we have Super Heavy Samurai Swordmaster Musashi. When this card is synchro summoned, you can target one machine monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. Also, if you have a spell or trap in your graveyard, you cannot normal or special summon it, or a monster with its name for the rest of this turn. This card can attack while in face-up defense position. If it does, apply its defense for damage calculation. Yeah, so it's your standard, because I know one of the big things the Super Heavies have is that they really do not like spell or traps in the graveyard. And that seems to play on that. We have Golden Hair, the newest Plunder Patrol. You know, if that was the newtist Plunder Patrol, then I would think that they're making a joke, but because she looks like a newt. You can send one other Plunder Patrol monster card from your hand or face-up field to the graveyard. Special summon this card from your hand. If this card is in your graveyard, you can discard one card, special summon this card, but you cannot special summon for the rest of this turn except Plunder Patrol monsters. You can only use each effect once per turn. Yeah, I mean, it gets itself out onto the field easily enough. We have Pinpoint Dash. Each player reveals one face-down card from their extra deck. If they are the same type, Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link, send your opponent's card to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon your card. Then, if the cards have the same original type and attribute, your opponent loses life points equal to the revealed card's attack. Otherwise, send your card to the graveyard, and if you do, your opponent special summons their card. You can only activate one Pinpoint Dash per turn. Really not sure how I feel about this one. Because you have a 1 in 4 chance of being able to special summon a card. I guess if you're doing... might be worth running if you know what your opponent's running, or if the meta is very heavy on certain types. Like, I don't think you're going to be finding fusions too often. But... no, that just seems like it's way too often you'd be giving your opponent a free special summon. Goldilocks, the Battle Landscaper. If this card is normal or special summoned to a zone that is not the center main monster zone, destroy this card. This card gains 3,000 attack while in the center main monster zone. Once per turn, you can choose one of your unused main monster zones, move this card from your main monster zone to that zone, then destroy all other cards in the column of the zone this card was in. The column this card had moved to, and all columns in between. Yeah, so it's you can very quickly blow up a good chunk of the field with this thing. I mean, yeah, it's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, so it's 10 star. So I mean, there's nothing stopping you from special summoning it out either. But overall, yeah, no, that's seems like quite a good way of just, place in the middle, move it over to the one side, following turn, move it all the way over to the other side, and just keep clearing the field each turn. You have Pyraith, the Ghost Pirate. If a face-up water monster you control except Pyraith, the Ghost Pirate, is destroyed by battle or card effect, while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field, and if you do, it gains 100 attack for each water monster in your graveyard until the end of the next turn. You can only use this effect once per turn. Sorry for the pause, I just don't know if you can hear that, but I really hope that's a nail gun going off right now and not somebody actually able to hammer that fast, because that would be disturbing. We have Lopter, Shadow of the Gene Raider bosses. You can only control one Lopter, Shadow of the Gene Raider bosses. All Gene Raider monsters you control gain 1,000 attack and defense during your opponent's turn only. During the main phase, you contribute one Gene Raider monster, special summon one level 9 Gene Raider monster with a different name from your deck. You can only use this effect once per turn. I mean, quite nice buff for Gene Raider monsters. Another Ancient Warrior Saga, Borrowing of Arrows. Oh, Chinese mythology. So, yeah, a little bit off. We have Ancient Warriors, Fearsome Zhang Wan. All other Ancient Warrior monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. At the start of the damage step, while your Ancient Warrior monsters battles an opponent's face-up monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, that opponent's monster loses 1,000 attack. Quite nice. And if a card your opponent controls is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target one card your opponent controls, destroy it. And that's quite nice overall. We have Splash Mage. You can target one Cyberse monster in your graveyard, special summon it in defense position but negate its effects. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn except Cyberse monsters. You can only use this effect once per turn. We have Magical Hound. If this card is in your graveyard, hand or graveyard, you can target one face-up spell or trap your opponent controls, return it to the hand, and if you do, special summon this card. You can only use this effect once per duel. So, decent little hand trap, but, I mean, it's once per duel, not... But still, you know, not bad for disrupting your opponent. We have Gookie Ironclaw. During the damage step, when your Gookie monster battles an opponent's monster, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard until the end of this turn. Your monster gains 500 attack, and if it does, it is unaffected by your opponent's card effects. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add one Gookie from your deck to your hand, except Ironclaw. You can only use each effect once per turn. I mean, yeah, it's decent enough. I have Crimson Resonator. If you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. If the only other monster you control is exactly one Dark Dragon Synchro monster, you can special summon up to 2 Resonator monsters from your hand or deck, except Crimson Resonator. You can only use each effect once per turn. Cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck, except Dark Dragon Synchro monsters. It's a decent enough effect for it. Another Goldilocks. Another Virus Berserker. Ancient Warriors Ambitious Cow Day. When you control another Ancient Warriors monster, your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. Also, it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If a card your opponent controls is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can send one other card from your hand or field to the graveyard, special summon this card from your hand. And when this card is destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can special summon that monster to your field in defense position. I mean, quite nice. Gookie Guts. This defense position card cannot be destroyed by battle. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. During your main phase, you can make all Gookie monsters you control gain 200 attack. Doesn't say until end of turn either. And if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add one Gookie card from your deck to your hand except Gookie Guts. We have Salamangreat Zebroid X. Not quite sure how that's supposed to be a zebra, but okay. When this card is in your graveyard, if a Salamangreat Link monster you control leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, except during the damage step, you can special summon 2 level 4 Salamangreat monsters from your graveyard, including this card, but negate their effects, and if you do, immediately after Xyz summon 1 Salamangreat Xyz monster using only the 2 monsters. You can only use this effect once per turn. An Xyz monster that was summoned using this effect, or using this card on the field as material gains the effect. Card gains 300 attack for each material attached to it. Yeah, I mean, it's decent enough. We have the Thunder Dragon Lord. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must first be special summoned from your hand by banishing 1 level 8 or lower Thunder monster from your hand or face-up field during the turn a Thunder monster's effect was activated in the hand. Once per opponent's turn, you can banish 2 cards from your graveyard, including a Thunder monster, then target 1 Thunder monster your opponent controls, or target 1 Thunder monster you control. Your opponent cannot target it with card effects this turn. Once per turn during your end phase, you can send 1 Thunder Dragon card from your deck to the graveyard. And Deep Sea Sentry. Oh, look at the cute little fish princess. If this card is sent to the graveyard to activate a water monster's effect, you can make your opponent banish 1 card from their hand face up until the end phase. If this card is special summoned, you can send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard, then target 1 level 4 or lower water monster in your graveyard, except Deep Sea Sentry, add it to your hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. We have AIQ. Only if you control an... I'm not sure if that's supposed to be an @ symbol or not. Or just a stylized A. If you control an Ignister monster. We'll go with that. Once per turn during your standby phase, tribute one link monster or destroy this card. Each player can only link summon a monster once per turn while this card is face upon the field. So you have to keep feeding it link monsters. But, I mean, it only checks for that, or you only have to tribute it during your standby phase. You can still slow your opponent down for at least one turn with it. We have Trias Hierarchia. During the main phase, if this card is on your hand or graveyard, you can tribute up to 3 fairy monsters, special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. Then you can apply the following effects in sequence depending on the number of tributed monsters. 2+, destroy 1 card your opponent controls. 3+, or 3, draw 2 cards. You can only use this effect once per turn. I mean, yeah, it's decent enough. You can get it out for 1 fairy if you really want to. We have another Super Heavy Samurai Wagon. Another Sarama. The Arrival Cyberus Ignister. Link 6. You can only control 1 The Arrival Cyberus Ignister. The original attack of this card becomes 1,000 times the number of link materials used for its link summon, unaffected by other cards' effects. Once per turn, you can target 1 other monster on the field, destroy it, and if you do, special summon 1 Ignister token to your zone this card points to. I mean, that's not bad. Another Virus Swordsman. Lantern Shark. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can activate this effect. Special summon 1 level 3, 4, or 5 water monster from your hand in defense position, except Lantern Shark. Also, you cannot special summon from the extra deck, except Xyz monsters. You can only use this effect once per turn. If it's used for the Xyz summon of a water monster, it can be treated as a level 3 or 5 monster. So, probably a bit better than the Saw Shark, just because you can go straight into an Xyz summon with him, whereas the other one, because you can special summon 3, 4, or 5, and he's also treated as a level 3, 4, or 5 for Xyz, whereas the Saw one, I think you'd have, with the Saw Shark, I think you'd have to bring out a level 4 one. Salamangreat Zebroid X, and Cataclysm Circumpolar Chilblania. If a face-up water monster you control is destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect, you can special summon this card from your hand. Then you can send 1 random card from your opponent's hand to the graveyard. I mean, that's not a bad effect at all. You can only use it once per turn, but still. We have Ancient Warriors Deceptive Jaiwen. You can target 1 continuous spell or trap you control, send it to the graveyard, and if you do, have the attack of 2 face-up monsters on the field until the end of this turn. If a card your opponent controls is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target 1 Ancient Warriors card in your graveyard, except Jaiwen, add it to your hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. We have another Codebreaker 0 Day. Evil Eye Re-Emergence. Special summon 1 familiar of the Evil Eye token, or if Evil Eye of Selene is in your spell and trap zone, you can special summon 2 instead. Also, for the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters except Fiend monsters. Banish this card from your graveyard, where your opponent cannot target Evil Eye spells, traps you control while this card effects this turn. You can only use each effect once per turn. I mean, yeah, it's decent enough. Another Deep Sea Minstrel. We have Access Code Talker. Your opponent cannot activate card or effects in response to this card's effect activations. If this card is link summoned, you can target 1 link monster that was used as material for its link summon. This card gains attack equal to that monster's link rating times 1,000. You can banish 1 link monster from your field or graveyard, destroy 1 card your opponent controls. Also, for the rest of this turn, you cannot banish monsters with the same attribute to activate the effect of Access Code Talker. I mean, quite nice. Magical Hound. King Beast Barbaros. can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. Tribute monsters whose total levels equal 8 or more. Special summon this card from your hand. Or you can banish one Barbaros monster in your graveyard or face-up field, then target 2 cards your opponent controls, destroy them. We have Bluebeard, the Plunder Patrol Shipwright. If you control a Plunder Patrol monster except Bluebeard, the Plunder Patrol Shipwright, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is sent from the hand or monster zone to the graveyard, you can discard 1 card, draw 1 card. You can only use each effect once per turn. And another Thunder Dragon Lord. In just a moment. Okay, and we're back. Just had to go and get a quick drink for my throat. So we have another Megalith Unformed, another Marincess, not going to try to pronounce it, Stairs of Mail, Buzzsaw Shark, Har, Gene Raider Boss of Storms. You can only control 1 Har, Gene Raider Boss of Storms once per turn if your opponent adds a card from their deck to the hand, except during the draw phase. You can make your opponent send 1 monster from their hand or field to the graveyard, their choice. When a card or effect is activated, you contribute 2 Gene Raiders and or Spellcaster monsters, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. You can only use this effect once per turn. I mean, it's quite nice overall. Rain Bozu. Link Burst. Target 1 Link monster you control and 1 monster your opponent controls. Destroy them, then draw 1 card. You can only activate 1 Link Burst per turn. I mean, not bad. Another Nemesis. And King Beast Barbaros. We have Perform Pal Turn Trooper. At the start of your battle phase, you can place 1 counter on this card, max 2. Gains the following effect based on the number of counters on it. 1 once per turn, when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can negate that attack. I mean, it's not bad. 2, you contribute this card, banish all monsters on the field until your opponent's second end phase. Wow. Yeah, that's not a bad second effect there. I have Kuki Ironclaw, Marincess, Deep Sea Artisan. If this card is added from the deck or graveyard to your hand by an effective water monster, you can reveal this card, look at your opponent's hand. If this card is special summoned, you can send the top card of your deck to the graveyard, then target 1 level 4 or lower water monster in your graveyard, except Artisan, special summon it but negate its effects. You can only use each effect once per turn. We have Scripton. You can banish 1 Cyberus monster from your graveyard, except Scripton, special summon this card from your hand. If this card is sent to the graveyard as materials for link summon of a Cyberus monster, you can target 1 banished monster, shuffle it into the deck. You can only use each effect once per turn. I mean, that's not bad at all. Pride of the Plunder Patrol. If your Plunder Patrol monster destroys an opponent's monster by battle, draw 1 card. If you control a Plunder Patrol monster, you can send this card face up from your field to the graveyard, then activate 1 of these effects. Your opponent draws 1 card, then you look at their hand and send 1 monster from it to the graveyard. Look at your opponent's extra deck and send 1 monster from it to the graveyard. You can only use each effect once per turn. Torpedo Takedown. Target 1 Water Xyz monster you control, detach 1 material from it, inflict 400 damage to your opponent for each card in your hand, and if you do, that monster gains attack equal to the... Hi, Sheldon. Yeah, you're just going to set up shop there, aren't you? And if you do, that monster gains attack equal to the damage inflicted until the end of this turn. You can banish this card and 1 water monster from your graveyard. Draw 2 cards. You can only use 1 Torpedo Takedown effect per turn and only once that turn. We have Xyz Revive Splash. Target 1 rank 4 or lower Xyz monster in your graveyard. Special summon it. Its attribute becomes water. You can banish this card from your graveyard. Then target 1 water Xyz monster you control. Special summon from your extra deck 1 water Xyz monster that is 1 rank higher than the monster you control by using it as material. This is treated as an Xyz summon. Transfer its materials to the summon monster. You can only use 1 Xyz Revive splash effect per turn and only once that turn. Noctovision Dragon. When your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a face-down card you control, you can banish this card from your graveyard, negate that effect, and if your opponent cannot target that face-down card with the card effects for the rest of this turn, you can only use the following effects once per turn. If a Dark Dragon monster is special summoned to your field, you can special summon this card from your hand. And if this card is sent to the graveyard as link material, you can draw 1 card. I mean, that doesn't seem to be too bad at all. Not quite sure why you decided that the pile of cards was the best place to go, but we have Necroquip Prism, Zero Day, Gookie Ironclaw, Crimson Resonator, Deep Sea Prima Donna. Your opponent cannot target a synchro monster that uses this card as material with monster effects. You can only use the following effects once per turn. You can target one of your opponent's banished monsters, add it to your hand, or one of your opponent's banished cards added to your hand, or special summon 1 level 4 or lower water monster from your deck, and if you do, add that target to their hand. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 banished card, shuffle it into the deck. I'm not quite sure how well the first effect works with sleeve cards, because then that... Target one of your opponent's banished cards added to your hand, or special summon 1 level 4 lower water monster from your deck, and if you do, add that target to their hand. Because, I mean... So, most players use sleeves. And most sleeves have either color or artwork or something identifying it as yours. So, I mean, if your opponent uses this, would that then count as a marked card? I mean, you know exactly what card it is in their hand, so all of a sudden, things that require you to do it at random aren't random anymore. Just from a ruling standpoint, that seems like a headache. We have another Deep Sea Sentry, Gookie Guts, Super Heavy Samurai Swordmaster Musashi, and Taote Dragon. I have another Super Heavy Samurai Wagon, Proxy F Magician, Stairs of Mail, Golden Hair, Nemesis Corridor. Target one of your banished monsters except Nemesis Corridor, special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, shuffle that target into the deck. You can target one of your banished Nemesis monsters except Nemesis Corridor, add it to your hand. That's quite nice. Flourishing Frolic. Excavate the top card of your deck equal to the number of Flourishing Frolic in your graveyard plus 3. And if you excavate at least 1 monster, 1 spell, and 1 trap, add 1 of them to your hand and send the other cards to the graveyard. If you did not, shuffle all excavated cards into the deck. So you'd be looking at from 3 to 5 copies, unless there's other cards that count as Flourishing Frolic while they're in the graveyard. I mean, that's still not too bad. Another Taote Dragon, Parallel Xyz, and Red Familiar. There we go. We have another Goldilocks, Codebreaker Virus Berserker, Deceptive Jaiwen, Zero Day, Red Rain. If your opponent controls a level 8 or higher synchro monster, banish all monsters on the field except the monsters with the highest level. Also, the remaining face-up monsters on the field are unaffected by other card effects except their own until the end of this turn. If a Dark Dragon synchro monster is synchro summoned to your field while this card is in your graveyard, you can add this card to your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. That's a very interesting one. Red Familiar, Fearsome Zawen, Torpedo Takedown, and Cataclysmic Circumpolar Chilblaina. So we have another Resonator command, Buzzsaw Shark, Golden Hair, Gookie the Power Load Ogre. Gains attack equal to the combined link rating of all other link monsters you control times 200. This link summon card is unaffected by other cards' effects. You contribute one Gookie link monster, then target cards on the field up to its link rating, destroy them. You can only use this effect once per turn. I mean, it's not bad. We have Rose Girl. If a face-up plant monster you control is sent to the graveyard, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand. If a plant monster is on the field and this card is in your graveyard, you can add this card to your hand. You can only use one Rose Girl effect per turn and only once that turn. We have Zebroid X, Chilblaina, Rainbozu, and Link Burst. We have another Proxy F Magician, Stairs of Mail, Golden Hair, Pyraith, Ancient Warriors, Ingenious Zug Kong. If this card is added from the deck to your hand by the effects of an Ancient Warriors card, you can special summon it. When a spell or trap is activated, quick effect, you can send one face-up Ancient Warriors continuous spell or trap you control to the graveyard, negate the activation. When a monster effect is activated while you control Ancient Warriors Virtuous Duzan, you can send one face-up Ancient Warriors continuous spell or trap you control to the graveyard, negate the activation. You can only use each effect once per turn. I mean, seems quite nice. Flourishing Frolic, Splash Mage, Noctovision Dragon, and Borrowing of Arrows. Ooh. And that's me almost knocking over my camera. We have Megalith Unformed, Unchained Twin Samara, or Sarama, Atreus Hierarchia, Deep Sea Artisan, Red Rain, Nemesis, Deep Sea Sentry, Barbaros, and Gookie Guts. Necroquip Prism, Zero Day, Evil Eye Reemergence, Marincess, Arch Nemesis Eschatos. Cannot be normal summoned or set, must be first be special summoned from your hand by banishing 3 monsters with different types from your graveyard and or face-up field. Cannot be destroyed by card effects. You can declare 1 monster type on the field, destroy all monsters on that field with that type. Also, until the end of the phase, or until the end of the next turn, neither player can special summon monsters with that type. So very good at locking down single type decks. I mean, yeah, that's quite a nice one. Codebreaker Virus Swordsman, Nemesis, Red Familiar, and Parallel Exceed. I have AIQ, Deep Sea Minstrel, Pinpoint Dash, Perform Pal Turn Trooper, Witchcrafter Patronus. You can target one of your spellcaster monsters that is banished or in your graveyard, shuffle it into the deck, and if you do, add one Witchcrafter spell from your deck to your hand. If this card is in your graveyard, except the turn it was sent there, you can banish this card, then target any number of your banished Witchcrafter spells with different names, add them to your hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. We have Super Heavy Swordsmaster, Tao T Dragon, Red Familiar, and Zhang Wan. I know I'm horribly mispronouncing the Chinese names. We have Ya Wen, Crimson Resonator, Resonator Command, Buzzsaw Shark, Malice, Lady of Lament. Quick effect, you can tribute 2 monsters, then target one of your normal traps that is banished or in your graveyard, set that target, but place it on the bottom of the deck when it leaves the field. You can only use this effect once per turn. The fact that it requires it to be a normal trap and you have to tribute 2 monsters. Not sure how I feel about that one. Virus Swordsman, Rain Bozu, Swordmaster Musashi, and Goki Guts. We have Buzzsaw Shark, Goki the Power Load Ogre, Resonator Command, Virus Berserker, Plunder Patrol Ship Liss. During the main phase, you can special summon 1 Plunder Patrol monster from your hand or face-up field and trap zone, or face-up spell and trap zone. When your opponent activates a monster effect, you can discard 1 Plunder Patrol card, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. Then if this card is equipped with a Plunder Patrol card, you can add 1 Plunder Patrol card from your deck to your hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. Huh. I mean, it's not bad overall. Torpedo Takedown, Cataclysmic Chilblania, Parallel Exceed, and Link Burst. Interesting how I'm pretty sure I've only seen... looks like there's at least 3 members of the Plunder Patrol, and I've only pulled 2 of them. And only 1 copy of one of them. We have another Golden Hair, Goki the Power Load Ogre, Megalith Unformed, Sarama, AI Contact. If Ignister AI land is in your field zone, reveal 1 Ignister AI land in your hand, place it on the bottom of the deck, and if you do, draw 3 cards. So, quite good at dealing with any doubles you have. I mean, it's what, net 1 card, I believe, because you'd have this one, you'd be putting the AI land on the bottom of your deck, and then drawing 3, so I mean, it's not bad. Zebroid X, Thunder Dragon Lord, Deep Sea Sentry, and Magical Hound. We have Proxy Magician, Deep Sea Minstrel, Golden Hair, Pinpoint Dash, Plunder Patrol Party. If you control a Plunder Patrol monster, draw cards equal to the number of equipped cards you control plus 1, then shuffle cards from your hand into the deck equal to the number of equipped cards you control. You can only use this effect once per turn. If you special summon a Plunder Patrol monster from the extra deck while this card is in your graveyard, you can equip this card to that special summon monster as an equipped card with this effect. The equipped monster gains 500 attack. You can only use this effect once per duel. I mean, it's not a bad card overall. Lets you filter your deck a bit, so. Or filter your hand, I should say. We have Xyz Revive Splash, Magical Hound, Pride of the Plunder Patrol, and Lantern Shark. We have Trias Hierarchia, Deep Sea Artisan, AIQ, Deep Sea Minstrel, Heavy Forward. When this card is activated, you can add 1 Infinitrack monster from your deck to your hand. Once per turn, you can target 1 Machine Xyz monster you control, then activate one of these effects, change its battle position, or add this card to it as material. You can only activate one heavy forward per turn. We have King Beast Barbaros, Bluebeard the Plunder Pirate Patrol Shipwright, Thunder Dragon Lord, and Pride of the Plunder Patrol. We have another Goldilocks, AIQ, Pyraith, Trias Herakia, Nemesis Flag. You can target one of your banished monsters except Nemesis Flag, special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, shuffle that target into the deck. During your main phase, you can add one Nemesis monster from your deck to your hand except Nemesis Flag. You can only use each effect once per turn. We have another Bluebeard, Flourishing Frolic, Splash Mage, and Noctovision Dragon. And the last pack, I have Pinpoint Dash, Perform Palaturn Trooper, Buzzsaw Shark, Goki the Power Load Ogre, Void Apocalypse. You can discard one card, send one Fiend monster from your deck to the graveyard. You can send this face-up card from your spell and trap zone to the graveyard. Send Infernoid monsters with different names from your hand and or deck to the graveyard up to the number of monsters your opponent controls that were special summoned from the extra deck. You can only use one Void Apocalypse per turn and only once that turn. That's interesting one. Torpedo Takedown, Xyz Revival Splash, Noctovision Dragon, and Flourishing Frolic. So that's it for this week. So thank you for watching. If you like the video, like, comment, subscribe, the routine, and I will see you all later. Also, Kitty.